Hello everybody, it's your boy Deshaun here, and it's another episode of Average Joe Sports. And guess what? We're going to talk about something happy. But first I have one question for you. What do Sons of the Westwood, bear down Arizona, bow down to Washington, mighty Oregon, and hold that tiger all have in common? They're all fight songs. And what do fight songs remind us of? College football. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. It is time for college football. It goes down tonight. Unfortunately, I don't know who's playing right now, but I'm not here to worry about everybody else. Couple things before we get started. Today, this is going to be the Husky preview of the entire season. It's going to be fun. Again, focusing primarily on the Dogs because that's where I went and that's the team I root for. So if you don't like it, you can suck it. I'm just kidding. You don't have to suck it. Unless you want to, unless you're into that kind of kicky stuff. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on to some college football. One more thing before we do get started. This is actually the first year of the college football playoff. 14 playoff, top 4 teams get in, which means number 5 is going to feel left out. We'll get a little more into that as the season progresses. Just so you know, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. 2 people go in, play for the national title game, which will be held at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. So that'll be fun. Hopefully we get to see a Pac-12 team enter. If not, you know, it happens. But again, hopefully fair is fair and they accept undefeated. Now, on to the Husky preview. First things first, let's start out with how they did last season. Last season, the Dogs finished with a regular season record of 8-4. Then they went on to play in the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl, and they won for a total record of 9-4. As we all know, as well, the end of last season ended with some semblance of controversy. Well, I wouldn't say controversy; it was just more of the fact that Coach Steve Sarkisian left to go to USC at the end of the Apple Cup, which came as a shock to all of us as fans because. Me personally, I felt personally betrayed as a fan. Sorry, I messed with my new tablet here. Still learning the ropes on this thing. I personally felt a little disappointed, a little let down because he seemed to be taking a team that was once 0-12 into a very, very positive direction, possibly, you know, being a contender in its own conference, which for me, as another higher bar standard, that is the next step to be competitive in our half of the conference. But he left, and we gained probably, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in college football. That even though we've all heard of, he coached at a school that that most of us have never heard of. That is one Chris Peterson, former Boise State head coach. Ironically, he's a very young coach, believe it or not. He's only like 49 or something like that. So he's still, you know, in the early parts of his career, much like Sarkisian was as well as a head coach. But he's been coaching for 12 years versus, you know, Sarkisian's only been head coaching for not even 3 years yet. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on with that. Again, new coach means new system. Just a quick overview of key losses for the Dogs over last season. We lost Keith Price to the NFL, also eligibility. Bishop Sankey, who was a junior, one of our better running backs. I think that's a bigger loss that we're probably going to see sneak up on us this year. Another key receiver in the sense of as a tight end, and as we all know, a tight end is a quarterback's best friend. We lost Austin Safarian-Jenkins also to the draft. I believe he still had a couple more years of eligibility as well. On the Austin Safarian-Jenkins and Bishop Sankey tip, they got to go get that money, especially Bishop Sankey, because the average time for a running back is only about 3 years. So that's something that's very, very important. And oh my lord, And so, having him go out there and get his money and leave early is not a surprise to me. So again, wish them all luck. We also lost Danny Shelton, Kason Williams, and Sean Parker. So again, those are very, very big losses in the sense of when you lose upperclassmen, you realize that you're going to be exposed with a new class. How that's going to work out, again, you got a new coach coming in, Chris Peterson. So in other words, you have a brand spanking new system coming into play, and we'll get into some keys on that as well. Another big thing, as we all know, when senior quarterbacks leave, it leaves you with that sense of the semblance of emptiness because you don't know who the starting quarterback for the season is going to be. We do know one thing, that Jeff Lindquist will be starting the game against Hawaii this weekend, and we'll get into a preview about that later on as well. So he will be starting versus Hawaii. Now, I don't know how that's going to transfer over into the rest of the season because they still have returning backup quarterback Siler Miles as well. Again, we all know he got suspended from spring practices over a fight that happened after the Super Bowl, which he actually wound up not necessarily being a part of, but the fact that he was there leaves him to be guilty by association. So it sucks for him, but he's got to get his reps in with the starting squad. Don't be surprised to see him come in also at points later on in the season. So again, we'll see what happens. Another key thing that we've also got to realize with the losses of Danny Shelton and the like, it comes to the fact that we have a very, very young defense. Again, which also means we have a very young secondary as well, which normally wouldn't be a problem if the quarterbacks and major keys to the offenses of other schools were leaving. Unfortunately, in this conference, of the 12 teams, 10 are returning their quarterbacks from the previous season. So expect a lot of yards to be given up in the air and possibly on the ground this season as well. I think it's going to be a very, very choppy start for the Dogs defensively, but they got a couple sort of gimme games where they can kind of get their legs under them, but look for them to suffer a little bit going into the bulk of the Pac-12 season. Let's see here. The ground attack. Ground attack's going to be huge. We've got kind of what looks like to me anyway, again, new coach, new system. What looks like it's going to be kind of a running back by committee. We've got Deontay Cooper, Dwayne Washington, Levon Coleman. Hopefully they can bring some snippets of extra spark to the team as a collective. I mean, missing a guy like Bishop Sankey, that's a huge hole in the offensive plan, especially in order to keep the defense honest. So here's a hoping that those four guys will do well enough. I expect a lot from these guys. I expect to see some serious rotation going on as well. I don't think the competition for who's going to be the main running back is going to happen anytime early this season or even going into the next. I think that position is going to play itself out as we go along. Another big thing is we have to figure out a way to win on the road. We don't do well against teams away from Husky Stadium. We have a 4-9 record in the last 3 seasons. I'm like repeating myself. What's wrong with me? We're 4-9 in the last three seasons. So that's something that needs to be done. One of those losses was, in fact, game against Washington State. Again, you give up 28 points, you deserve to lose the game. We're not able to maintain our leads and close out at the end of games away from Husky Stadium. We saw some improvement last year with a win against Illinois at Illinois. So that was something that was a key thing. But again, we got big road games this season against Oregon, Arizona, and again against Washington State. Guess what? Apple Cup is always important. So we want to beat our in-state rivals. So that's something that does have to happen. Hopefully they can get that done. Just kind of getting a feel for for what the season's going to bring. We've got a couple key games. Obviously, we've got the opener versus Hawaii. That's going to be key because, again, you want to start things out on a positive note, and also gives a chance to see what the dogs have done in the spring, if it's going to transfer over into the regular season now when the games count. It's fun to play against your buddies on the team, and pat up and get a little hitting done out there. But you got to prove it. You got to prove it every Saturday against other opponents. So that's going to be a key game. Eastern is going to be a super huge game, and I'll get into why here in a second. Oregon, and again against Washington State, those are going to be key things. And if we can finish with a road record of at least 3-2, that would be super duper spectacular. I wouldn't mind 500. That would be great, but 3-2 I think is possible. So we'll see what happens there. So looking at Hawaii, that's going to be a big game. Ironically, interesting fact, we actually haven't beaten the University of Hawaii football team since 1939. And it was a bowl game. I don't actually remember this. I don't remember the score. 1, because I wasn't there, and 2, I didn't write it down. So that's the last time we won. We played at Hawaii back in 2007. We were up by 21, but we were up by 3 touchdowns. Gave up 3 touchdowns. Wind up losing 35-28 in 2007. Again, Jeff Lindquist will be getting the start on Saturday. It's going to be a late game for us, an early game over there in Hawaii. Again, Hawaii time, always fun. So again, I don't have stats or anything on that. Again, we'll get into more of the Hawaii UW preview here. Should have that up probably by Friday. But looking at the season at a glance here, I just got to pull that up real quick. So the first half of our season, believe it or not, we're playing at home. Again, we open at Hawaii. Then after that, we've got home games against Eastern Washington, Illinois, Georgia State, and Stanford. So we have 4 home games in a row. So basically, all of September, we're playing at home. Looking at that homestand right there, 2 very, very important games are on the schedule. The game versus Eastern Washington, which I feel is a very, very big game, because the one thing we have to understand about Eastern Washington is, one, they play very excellent football. They have a great offensive and defensive line. They build them out there. That's kind of what they hang their hats on. And 2, the biggest thing really is, you got to realize with Eastern is the fact that these are kids whose dreams it were to play at either WSU or UW. It was their dream to play for one of these 2 schools. And, for one reason or another, it just didn't work out, whether it be grades, whether it be coaching changes, or just whether it be, they just kind of had a change of heart and, said, hey, I want to go to a smaller school. And, hey, Eastern Washington offered me a scholarship. Wazoo and UW did not. So you got guys that are going to be on the field on the 6th that have a lot to gain and nothing to lose. You see what I'm saying? So this game is very, very important because again, you're playing mostly local guys, and also you've got a very big Eastern Washington fan base. I was surprised from the first time we played them. I was like, they travel very, very well, and and again, they love their Eagles. So again, that's going to be a very, very important game. You don't want to lose to the FBS teams early in the season. You don't want to lose to FBS teams, period. But especially, you don't want to lose to somebody who's in the same state as you. And as I've said to my Coug friends, that if we lose to Eastern, we may as well not win Apple Cup, because even if we stomp the hell out of Wazoo, which I'm not saying that we are, again, I'm not giving an Apple Cup preview until Apple Cup, but even if we did win, we're still here. You lost to Eastern, which I would tell them Eastern's a very, very good team. Again, they played the Dogs tough a couple years ago, We won barely because we had a Desmond Trufant made a great interception toward the end of the game. In a game that, honest to God, I felt we should have lost because we played like crap. But that's just me. The defense didn't show up. You know, the offense kind of started to sit on their heels a little bit, and that proved to haunt them later on when they played Wazoo in Apple Cup. So, and then they also played Wazoo tough the year afterwards. So I mean, this team comes in ready to play, and they know they're the underdog, and they're not taking their opponent lightly, which I think is something that Coach Peterson can also get behind as well. Playing, coaching at Boise State, always being the underdog, he focused on the big teams all the time in order to make a statement. The second big game on here is the Stanford game. Last season we played Stanford. We had them going into the fourth quarter, and we just kind of fell apart a little bit, and we just weren't able to close the game out at Stanford. So this game is also going to be super important. And in between there, we've got Illinois and Georgia State. Illinois, we played them last year. We beat them, and Georgia State's team I don't know anything about. Again, we'll get into more depth with these teams going into each game with a preview, because I actually have time to do that sort of thing this year. So with any luck, we should be, I would like to be 3-1. I would like to be 3-1, yeah, because that's 5 games. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. I'd like to be 4-1, I'd like to say. The one being possibly the loss against Stanford, going into the, actually, sorry, let me rephrase that again. Looking at the out-of-conference season, I would like to be 3-1. In the out-of-conference season, going into the Pac-12, sorry, still getting used to saying Pac-12, going into the Pac-12 opener versus Stanford. Okay, now from Stanford, we've got two big away games. We got Oregon and Cal. Well, actually, Cal first, then Oregon. Cal is a team that has good years and has bad years. I think they're still kind of getting on the upswing a little bit, but look for them to also, again, playing away, look for them to play them tough, as we don't play well on the road. And then we've got one of the big marquee games outside of Stanford, and that's the game versus Oregon. Oregon's going to be a tough matchup because Oregon is always a tough matchup. They've beaten us for the last 10 years. I'm personally sick of the 10 years of dominance. I want that to end as soon as humanly possible. Hopefully we can get that done this year. But I won't be surprised if it doesn't happen. Then we play at home versus Arizona State, which is probably homecoming. So that's on the 25th of October. Arizona State is surprisingly a good team. I overlooked this team last year, and I'm not going to do that this year. So again, it's gonna be a tough game. I think they will pull through with that. Then we play at home. Then we go to Colorado, which I feel that we should win because we've been beating Colorado since their Pac-12 induction, and we've beaten them handily in most cases. Then we come back home to UCLA. UCLA is a damn good team. They've got a Heisman hopeful quarterback, and as of right now, they're one of the dark horses to get into the top 4 into the BCS tournament. Or I'm sorry, I can't even say BCS because the BCS doesn't even exist. So then after that, we go to Arizona to play the Wildcats. I think that, again, playing down in Arizona is always tough in general because it's typically the heat. Usually that's a night game, so hopefully we get lucky on that. Oregon State, listen. Last year we played Oregon State at Oregon State. We beat them 69 to some odd points. 69 points. Can I get an amen? I was very excited about that game. I don't foresee us winning by 69. I don't see us getting 69 points, but I do see us, playing very, very well. And then we have Apple Cup. And then we have Apple Cup at Wazoo on the 29th of November to end the season. Again, I'm not going to give you a prediction on that. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to play Apple Cup because it's always interesting to play Apple Cup. I did not take the time to say what our finishing record is going to be, typically because I never do. But again, I want to be 3-1 going into the out of conference season. I would say I expect us to win 9, possibly 10 games. I think, which means we'll probably fall somewhere in the 7 to 9 win range in actual reality. Again, high point. I say on a high, I feel that we can win 10 games, but on the low end, I feel we can win anywhere from 7 to 9 games this season, not including Apple Cup. So that's really the the Husky preview as a whole. Again, I think it's going to be a great season. Coach Peterson in his first year, it'll be interesting to see what he does, because typically in the last few years, coaches haven't done necessarily all that great in their first year, but I think that this was the job that Coach Peterson was waiting for after, having his name constantly being overheard on the, coaches to go get wire. So we as a school and as a sports program, we lucked out, and Coach Peterson was able to accept. Hopefully he'll have a better season than what he had going into last year, in his last season at Boise State. Kind of ended on a so-so note. I believe he finished 8-4 last season. So again, go Dogs! Let's get it done. Be on the lookout for the Huskies versus Hawaii Warriors preview coming up probably tomorrow or Friday. Peace out. Let's get it done. College football. Woo!